So how can you practice your public speaking in a safe and supportive environment? The first thing you got to do is realize don't practice in front of your actual live audience. The number one mistake most speakers, presenters, communicators make is they procrastinate on ever practicing or rehearsing. They'll say, of course I'm going to rehearse. Of course I'm going to practice. I just got to finish rewriting this section. I just have to finish tweaking this bullet point. I just have to move the logo from here to here on my PDF, on my PowerPoint. And before you know it, it's 2 minutes till showtime, getting up on the stage or getting up in front of the board and speaking. And then you can say, well, I wanted to rehearse, but there was no time. Liar. We're lying to ourselves when we do that. There is always time for anything that's important. No matter how important it is for you to send out a press release during a crisis or to send a cover letter to someone, there's always time to hit spell check and review it, right? You don't say, oh, there's no time to see if it's spelled correctly. No, you go through a due diligence process. It's exactly the same when it comes to your speeches and your presentations. So you do need to rehearse, and it is important to do it in a safe environment. The most dangerous is the actual audience for the final speech, as I mentioned. But be careful about this. I want you to feel good. I'm on your side. I do not want to add stress to your life, but if safety and support is all you're looking for, you can rehearse in front of your dog who's just happy and smiling at you. Your goal shouldn't be safety necessarily. Your goal in rehearsal should be, how do I make the most dramatic improvement in my presentation so that I know when I'm giving the actual presentation, it's going to be great. That's what you want. Now, of course, you don't want to just bring 3 colleagues from the office in to watch you rehearse, and you know one of them is just gloomy Gus, and all they ever do is say, this is awful, that's awful. You don't want them bringing you down, but it depends on how you ask questions. You can get valuable feedback from anyone, even the gloomy Gus's in your office, if you ask the right questions. So when you're giving a presentation in practice, in rehearsal, what you want to do is ask anyone who's watching you, whether they're in the same room with you, whether they're watching you online, whether they're watching a video of your rehearsal. You want to ask them, what do you remember from my presentation? What ideas, what stories, what examples? That is the most important question you could ask. Because they may say, well, I hated your voice and you used your hands too much, but then they remember all of your key messages and points, in which case you're in great shape. I don't care what they say about my hands or voice if they're remembering my ideas. Remember, the biggest danger by far for 99.99% of business speakers, communicators in the world is not that they fall down or say too many ums or start sweating or freeze and run off the stage. That is not the major risk of any speech. The major risk, the biggest problem for almost everyone is they go through the speech, everything is professional, their suit, tie, dress is fine, their hands are moving nicely, they may have good eye contact, and as soon as they're done, if you went around the room and asked everyone, can you name 2 ideas this person just said? I'll give you $1,000. You'd never have to give away any money. So let's stay focused on what the real risk is. The real risk is not you having a heart attack while you're giving a speech. The real risk is you go through all this effort and you accomplish nothing because nobody remembers your ideas. So when you are rehearsing, regardless of who your sample size is, family members, friends, colleagues, grumpy people, you want to ask that as the first question. What is it you remember from my presentation? How would you describe what I talked about today to a colleague who wanted to come, who was supposed to come, but got tied up in traffic? That is the single most important question. Really listen to that. If they're not telling you the ideas that are most important to you that you really wanted to get across, that is a signal that you need to go back to your presentation. In all likelihood, narrow your messages down, come up with more examples, tell more stories to make each message point more memorable. That's the way to really get the most value out of a rehearsal section. The next thing you could do is ask them, do you have any advice for me on how I can improve this? Now, I need you to be very careful about how you listen to this, because people are well-meaning, generally. They know you, colleagues, friends. They're not trying to make you feel bad. But you may find they'll say, well, you shouldn't move your hands. Ignore that. It actually is going to make you look nervous and stiff if you do this, or hold a lectern, or hold a pen. So ignore most people's advice on hand movement. Now, if they say, well, you may want to speak a little louder, I'd really listen to that, because it's such a common problem when people are nervous or uncomfortable that their voice tightens up and their volume goes down. They can't hear that. So if someone says, can you speak a little louder? I would definitely pay attention to that. If they say, that story you were talking about, it was interesting, but I'm not sure I quite understood it, make a note of that so you can give more details in the story. If you're using PowerPoint and they say, I didn't understand slide 3, I'd figure out a way of improving slide 3. Typically, the problem with slides, way too much data, too much complexity, too many bullet points, graphics that look fine when you're staring at a computer screen this close, but when you're projecting it with overhead lights on, nobody can see what it is. So ask them for that. What isn't particularly helpful is if you ask friends, colleagues, family, associates, interns, what did you think of my speech? Because you're likely to get one of two responses. It could be, oh, it was great, professional, really good, that's wonderful. Well, that might make you feel good. It is supportive in a sense, but it's not really helpful. They might have just been wanting you to feel good because they felt sorry for you. They might not have cared about your message. They just want you to feel better about it. Now, I'm going to be honest, I do care about you. I'm pulling for you. But if I have a choice between rooting for you feeling good versus your audience, I'm going to root for your audience. I want your audience to feel good about watching you and listening to you. I'm rooting for your audience to really get the messages, because it's entirely possible for you or me or anyone to give a speech and, I'm feeling really good, and wow, don't I look good today, and I'm so articulate, and blah, 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 and nobody remembers anything I said. I'm feeling good. So what? What have I accomplished? Absolutely nothing. The goal isn't for me or you to feel good while giving a speech or after giving a speech or feeling supported. The goal is actual communication. Can you get ideas from your head into the heads of your audience? Can they understand you? Can they remember your messages and know what it is you want them to do or what you want them to think about or to focus on? That's the real goal of communication. So the best type of rehearsal helps get you to that point. Never lose sight of the ultimate goal. The goal is not to be confident. The goal is not to be comfortable giving a presentation. The goal is not to get through a presentation without making a mistake. The goal of a presentation is to actually communicate ideas. So everything you do with colleagues, friends, family, associates in a rehearsal should be designed and looked at through the lens of helping you reach that final goal. So by all means, rehearse in front of people, practice, record. You need to look at it and be happy with it. Get other people to look at it and make sure that your audience actually remembers your message. When you do that, it's going to be a relaxed experience for you, and it's going to build you with confidence. It's going to be supportive because it will help you with your ultimate goal, communication. Can I ask you a personal favor? I'm trying to help more people just like you all around the globe improve their personal communication skills and to be more successful. If you hit the subscribe button, not only will I be able to help you, but that'll send a message to others around the world that this is a place for them. So please, as a small favor, hit subscribe